a generation of women that is used to hearing standards. We're not used to hearing the perspective of men, open, honest, raw. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if we really want to get past the superficial mating and it be more about the character and the different things like that, fine, but it needs to be consistent. You cannot judge a man superficially based upon what he's making, or maybe because he's not a certain height, or because he can't grow a full beard, or whatever it may be. You cannot be superficial like that, but then want him to just look past who you are physically and see how kind of a heart you have. Like, that's not consistent. That's not consistent. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. Like, we just got to be consistent. If we want to have less superficial standards, it needs to be across the board. We don't want women to be judged by how they look. Fine. We also don't need to be judging dudes and calling them broke dusties and literally shaming men who don't have certain money or don't have whatever, and then be upset now when those men now return it. Because we live in an equal society. If that's what we're pushing for, then it's like, these are the kinds of things that are a result of equality. If you want equality, then you got to be willing to suffer the consequences. Now, if we really want to go back to chivalry and there's certain things you shouldn't do and treat a woman this way, that way, then we can talk. I'm cool with that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I do think the double standards are not helpful. Now, granted, I don't like seeing anybody be disrespectful. Like, I don't like seeing Black women being shamed or disrespected. I don't like seeing Black men being shamed or disrespected. So there are people online who are just crazy and who just do crazy things. So I'm not trying to make excuses for them. I'm trying to make excuses for those men out there who really are just mentally unwell, socially awkward. You could tell they never really knew how to engage with people in real life, and they turned to social media to vent their anger. I'm not talking about those dudes. And I'm not talking about the women who are really upset they don't like their lives or miserable, and they're going around complaining about everybody. I'm not talking about them. But I'm just saying, you actually being honest with how you feel and who you are, you being honest with what you're attracted to, I don't have no smoke for that. And like I said, this is where we have got to be consistent. If we want to be equal, then let's actually be equal. Women have their expectations about what a man can be making. Okay. Then it's okay for a man to be like, if I'm going to be working this hard, this is, and this is the thing about it. Previous generations knew this. Like, I tell you, I brought on the lady I interviewed a few months ago who just celebrated her 42nd anniversary. I was telling her the other day, having a conversation, and I was like, yeah, you have some women today have a hard time recognizing that their husbands want them to look good. And she's like, really? Like, of course, that's just what you're supposed to do. Like, if he's working hard all the time or whatever, of course you still want to try to maintain yourself. She's like, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. So it's like older generations understood that there were still little simple things that we did that, yeah, maybe they're superficial, but there are ways to just acknowledge the fact that, like, hey, you're a man, or hey, you're a woman, so I'm going to meet you there. We don't want to overlook that. So anyway, let's not act like, let's just keep it real. Let's not act like women don't want that validation in those comments. I think partially the reason that we now live in a situation where, whether it's men feel more comfortable commenting about a woman's looks or they are, is because women generally like it. Women 8, 9s, and 10s, if you will, are attractive women online. They enjoy having those dudes in the comments simping after them. A lot of them enjoy that. So let's not act like the nature of women getting comments is an insult. It's the kind of comments. A lot of women, I think, just want attention. And this is how this whole thing even got started. And that's what I'm saying. Like, me personally, I do think there should be a level of respect for one another. And I think there's a deeper issue of just not having respect, period, really being a strong foundation in the Black community. I just think there's just a general lack of disrespect we see from so many different angles. But like, this is where I think it can be a little bit inconsistent, is because generally women do, if they don't like it, they at the least appreciate it. And this only becomes an issue if maybe what you're hearing you don't like. And I do think, yeah, sometimes people are offering their like unsolicited comments. It's like, you didn't need to do that. But also, if you're on a public platform and you're putting like 40 hashtags to be found, then like, what are you expecting? So I don't know. I mean, it gets complicated, y'all. It's like, if we want to say, okay, men shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be acting like this, they shouldn't be saying these certain things. Okay. we also have to hold ourselves to the same standards. And unfortunately, we are so quick to drag a dude for being dusty and broke and not making enough money. We are so quick to drag dudes, and nobody have smoke for that. And even dudes usually don't even clap back. If they see a dude that's like broke, or he seems like he's not really working that hard, they don't have no issues. They're not going over there trying to cape for him, or trying to, you know what I mean? Trying to be like, oh, why are you disrespecting him? It's like, if he look like he dusty, he look like he's not working, or he's lazy, they're not usually going to make excuses for that. So I don't really see dudes going and being like, oh man, he called him bro, I can't believe why you doing that. They're just like, okay, it's whatever. But now if there's a woman who whatever, and she's getting comments, again, I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that anybody has a right to treat anybody disrespectful. But I think the issue is like, this has become a part of the culture. It's sad. And like I said, I feel like a lot of men right now are more reacting than anything, reacting to it being a culture for a very long time where women could openly express certain things. I mean, I think back to the fact that, a few years ago, the very fact that you had all these women, I think it was on The View or basically primetime television, laughing when a woman dismembered essentially or castrated her husband who had an affair, laughing about that. Laughing, like, and no pushback. So we already know, if it was the other way around and there was a group of men on there laughing about the fact that a woman who had an affair, she had gotten, God forbid, her breast removed, her husband had cut off her breast, that no way that would have gotten any support. No way that would not have been a big deal. And we've kind of seen things like that. So I think the issue is that it is not on an equal playing field. And because we're supposedly in a society where people want equality and women have made it clear, hey, we want to be treated equal. Now, when that comes, when the reality of that actually what that means starts to happen, that's where it gets complicated. And for some reason, I think there's a lot of women who believe that men are attracted to the same thing, that men are attracted to the same thing that women are, and they're just not. They're just not. Like, like I said, a man isn't sitting down and being like, oh wow, man, look at her degree, or man, like she's a really really hard worker, like that turns me on, or man, like she got a master's, woo, like dudes aren't really like, that's okay, like they're not against that per se, but it's more like, okay, you got a master's, you didn't get a master's, okay, you have a great career or not, like how do you look in a dress, like are you nice, can we talk, like are you cooperative, can we work together, like and I think for whatever reason, because women, we generally have, like, we're generally attracted to leaders, men who can provide, we're attracted to men who are accomplished. Generally, women are attracted to men who are accomplished. And again, if we're just talking about the superficial stuff, of course there's other aspects to it, but just based upon superficiality, men, or women like men who are accomplished. And so a lot of women going around thinking they're competing with men, thinking, okay, if I get accomplishments, then I'm going to be treated the same way. And you're not. And so I think that's where this whole idea of equality, there's all these reminders all the time that no matter how much we want to pretend that we can be equal or act equal, we can't. Because anytime these kind of situations happen, where I think essentially men meet women with what's been given, or vice versa, then you see the imbalance. Y'all, if you're on here, yes, let's get over 100 likes. Likes are free. Also, please, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, there would never be any situation where a woman was being mutilated and that would be celebrated and laughed about. There's not one situation that would ever happen. And and I'm going to talk about this. I know I'm going to not be I'm going to be on many people's hate list for this. But I've already alluded to this fact that interpersonal violence, by and large, women are the initiators. Across the board, across ethnic groups, women are the initiators of more violence in interpersonal relationships. And I think situations like that, where we see the way that our society addresses certain things, I think are reasons for it. If there are situations where a man being mutilated can be celebrated, but that doesn't exist for women, it does create an imbalance. And again, I'm not saying that he was right to have an affair, but what I am saying is that if the roles are reversed, like I said, there is not any situation where a woman could be mutilated or basically, that her mutilation or her being abused in any certain way would be celebrated. But if it's women, sometimes it's like, oh, maybe he deserved it. He deserved it. And like I said, those conversations are a reminder that okay, we're not equal. We're not being treated equal. And do we really want equality? Because if we really want equality all across the board, then that comes with a certain degree of responsibility. And I think that's where we start to see the pushback.